But really, I find the bigger question is it's not about where we're working, but it's how we're working. And a big part of that is synchronous and asynchronous. And it comes to the meeting point you mentioned around, am I in a meeting to hear these status updates, or could we have asynchronously shared that? So given you wrote this prior to the pandemic and all of this kind of remote work kicking off, what are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on it now in terms of how prepared companies are for asynchronous work? And if they're not, what can they be doing to be more prepared for asynchronous work?
Look, I'm a massive fan of asynchronous work. Even before this, I have been, and I don't think companies are prepared enough. I think that they still believe that we need to be there for one person talking through 50 slides for 2 hours while everybody else pretends to listen, but they're actually on their email. I think that's just the absolute worst waste of energy, especially if you've got people joining from different time zones, some early in the morning, some late at night. To what? To listen to something that could have been a podcast. Really, I do think that that's a massive challenge. And I think that probably more traditional companies are still struggling with that. Also, you mentioned a very important point, though, which is that the culture that we've developed over the last 15 months has been very intense, and it's been in response to a crisis. So we've all started to work even more ridiculously hard than we used to, and probably taking up the edges of what used to be our commute instead of taking that time back from ourselves. And so actually one of the most popular and most useful, I think, chapters in the book is chapter 3, which is all about taking back control of time. And essentially, it's about stopping your time from being taken up in bad meetings and being used on email, because a study showed that after all of your meetings and emails, the average knowledge worker has about 44% of their time left in the working week. So essentially, none of us start any work until like Wednesday afternoon, which is crazy.
Yeah.
We cannot allow that. And I think that's one of the most important resets and the most important habits that we need to overcome. Stop doing what has always been done just because that's the way it's always been done. There's a couple of companies who've done really good changes like that. So, for example, Vodafone made their meeting defaults into half an hour rather than 1 hour meetings. That saves them a massive amount of time. But the problem is that still might leave you with back-to-back 10 half an hour meetings. So what Channel 4 did was they banned people from putting back-to-back meetings. So they forced a 15-minute break between every meeting.
Okay.
And then they also said on Fridays, no meetings. And so lots of companies are coming up with different things like that. I mean, I think those companies are amazing for doing that. I'm not always in favor of only company-wide policies, though, because I think you need to, as a team, discuss what are you trying to achieve, who's on our team, and how do we best work together.